Welcome to the Kickstart Your Edge Play to Win Leadership Podcast,
where we've flipped the script with our groundbreaking modus operandi to bring you real, relevant, and relatable tactics and techniques to master your own play to win mindset.
Talk about a superpower. It's time to iron your cape.
What we know for sure is what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one is really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
Welcome to The Edge, where playing not to lose is not an option. Hey, Kara, we're ready to talk about one of my favorite topics.
We are not talking about crumble cookies today.
No, we are talking about communication, something that is very important to me and that I can sometimes over-index on, but I definitely love good communication. So last week we shared about an email that you received that linked to an article that talked about the silent treatment between Gen Zers and Boomers, and that 40% of workers over 55 haven't spoken to a Gen Zer at work in a year, and 1 in 5 Gen Zers haven't spoken to someone over 50.
That's just, I don't know. Again, Jen, I'm not a rocket scientist here, but this just ties so into the lack of engagement that's happening at work. This doesn't need to be so hard. And first of all, we're doing studies on this, and all I want to say is, for God's sakes, just effing talk to each other. And I do understand that a lot of people are behind screens, and I do understand that, there's a lot of people that are on their phones. However, I think the question boils down to, how important is it to you to create, an environment that's going to set the organization up for success and show people that they're valued and that they matter. If you're not talking to somebody if somebody hasn't talked to somebody over 55 in the past year, what's that communication really truly like? And I know that this is about face-to-face communication that we're really focusing on, but there's, and I am not, I want to say also, I'm not against hybrid working at all. I think hybrid is the way to go. I think that people should be in the office, and these are my 2 cents, obviously. I think people should be in the office, and I think people should have the flexibility to, work from home or to make things, more accommodating. But for people to not get that face time, it just makes total sense that there's no engagement to me. And I think that it's not a hard fix.
Yeah, it's interesting reading this article, right? Because it talks about, obviously, different generations are raised differently and with different technology and different habits and different learning. So when we talk Gen Zers, we're really looking at the workplace, the age up to about 27, roughly. So you think about it, is that there is a lot of screen time that comes with that, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's a text culture. It's an instant message type of culture. It's important discussions happening through the written keyboard. And so the written keyboard, that sounded funny.
What the hell is that?
I don't know, but you guys pick up what I'm putting down, right? So, and it's so interesting because then there's a lot of things that with that style of communication that some of the older generation is missing out the opportunity on, right? So mentoring, role modeling, explaining, showing, discussing, having conversation. What's important to you? Here's what's important to me. Pay attention to this. I'm going to teach you some tricks of the trade, right? Like all of those kinds of opportunities tend to go away. Yes, sometimes if you were to make some generalizations, the older aged people are going to be in higher positions just through natural career progression. And so maybe they feel there isn't as much interaction with the younger workforce. However, how do you grow the younger workforce with all the lessons that you've learned throughout your career? It's really interesting to see people's default behaviors and what's encouraged or not.
Jen, with with that being said, it makes me think of, for like you were just saying, the training, right? Training younger people. I know that it's important for them to be able to understand things, and they can read things see things through video, and they could see things on a computer screen. But it's funny, it makes me think of back to my law enforcement time, which we know is an eternity ago at this point. But when somebody got hired, right, there's a field training program, right? And everybody's assigned a field training officer. And just exactly what you said, that new person comes in and understands and gets to work hand in hand. They're in a car, they're together for X amount of time where they're learning the ropes, they're understanding different things. What are the policies? What are the procedures? The quote unquote, how we do things around here. And then incorporated into that field training. And I don't think that there was enough of this. It's how do they interact with the people that are above them? So part of this whole communication is how do we set people up for success so each generation, like it's working for everybody. And because I do feel like that there is a common ground that we can find, because I think that if the baby boomer generation was able to understand that the Gen Z generation, that, whatever other generations really truly care, but they care in a different way. We're all singing the same song, well, maybe we're not singing the same song. What's that metaphor about not being on the same sheet of music, but wanting, I don't even know what it is at this point. But you know what I'm trying to say? That the result, right? We're all looking for the same result, and we don't need to get there the same way, but how do we complement each other on the ride to getting the same result versus, all right, I'm not talking to you for a year.
Yeah, I think it is. It's about pulling teams together and asking the questions of, often people will use I'm going to call it just the broad general, we need better communication about what? What do we need to communicate better? What's important? How are we going to do it? What warrants What warrants in person? What is a direct conversation? What is we pick up the phone? What can be done over email? What do we need to do more of? What do we need to do less of? How do we start to leverage other people's expertise? If we were to create a culture that was spot on with communication, what would it look like? All those great questions are super important for teams to be able to discuss so we don't have this gap. There is a lot of great talent in the world. It's interesting. I'm working with a group of people that would fall in the younger age category. And the amount they care, the value they offer, and how they want to be able to have a more cohesive workplace is very prevalent in our conversations. And so it's how does the older generation take advantage of the desire of these younger people to say, how do we just make this a better place where everybody's learning and growing with the ultimate goal of having fulfilled, happy employees that stay engaged in the work they do? So on that note, Karen, I'll be talking to you, well, by many methods. I'll talk to you in person. I'll text you. I'll message you. I will probably send you an email. And who knows, there could even be a Post-it note around the house. On that note, we're out. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Edge Play to Win Leadership Podcast.
Craving more? Of course you are.
Check out our website at kickstartyouredge.com,
where we fire you up, fan the flames of your competitive edge culture, and ignite your tenacious pursuit of an all-out play-to-win mindset.